Sitar is a plucked stringed instrument used in Pakistani classical music. The instrument flourished under the Mughal Empire.
Good evening, Assalamu alaikum. You're watching PTV World. I'm Fahim Banglish with the headline news for this hour. Saudi Arabia offers ceasefire to Yemen's Houthi rebels. Pakistan Day Parade has been postponed and now it is to be held on the 25th of March due to inclement weather. NCOC is to force implementation of the standard operating procedures of COVID-19. Chinese Premier Li Keqiang wishes Prime Minister Imran Khan a speedy recovery from COVID-19. And also Saudi King and Crown Prince have also wished Prime Minister Imran Khan a speedy recovery from COVID-19. President of Pakistan confers Nishan-e-Imtiaz military upon the Air Chief. Government pursues matter of stranded Pakistanis. Pakistan-India Indus Waters Commissioners are to meet tomorrow. Shadab 11 beat Babar 11 in the practice match. being held in the Gaddafi Stadium, Lahore. That's all for now. For further news and live streaming, do log on to our website, world.ptv.co.uk. Also, do log on to our Facebook page with the name of PTV World and follow us on Twitter at WorldPTV. Thank you for joining us.
पाकिस्तान हासिल करने के लिए हमने बहुत कुर्बानी की है।
पाकिस्तानी ठान जब मुश्किल मुश्किल कब्र रहती है, एक है कौम और एक मंजिल, एक है कौम और एक मंजिल, ओ धड़कन धड़कन सबसे ये दिल, एक है कौम और एक मंजिल, एक है कौम और एक मंजिल। कसम उठा के जब परचम हम लहराते हैं, किसकी हिम्मत रास्ता रोके हम खुद रास्ता बन जाते हैं। दुश्वार था कल अब रोशन कल है, साथ हम तो क्या मुश्किल है, एक है कौम एक मंजिल, एक है कौम एक मंजिल।
The Faisal Mosque is the largest mosque in Pakistan. Located in the national capital city of Islamabad. Completed in 1986, it was designed by Turkish architect Vedat Daloke to be shaped like a desert Bedouin's tent. It is situated at the north end of Faisal Avenue, putting it at the north.
Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farrukh Pitafi. Viewers, today we are going to talk about political situation in the country. Before I do that, let me remind you that coronavirus has reached the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who was tested positive recently, and the First Lady as well. Whenever this happens, and I'm talking about all the countries, we have seen the case in the U.S. when former U.S. President Donald Trump got the virus, and in UK when the Prime Minister Johnson also got the virus. At that time, you realize that the problem is at its peak. Let us start by wishing the Prime Minister and the First Lady a safe and quick recovery. Now, let us talk about the politics of Pakistan, because in this country, we have seen that after the Senate elections, everything actually revolves around the Senate. Even right now, there seems to be a wedge that is driving two very important parties, People's Party and PMLN, apart. One, primarily because both have a problem with the idea who's going to head the opposition in the Senate. PMLN says that there was an agreement between the PDM forces that it is going to be the PMLN's representation who is going to do it. On the other side, People's Party, one, it says that its leader should be heading the opposition because the circumstances have changed after they lost the German Senate election. The second aspect, and that is more interesting, why People's Party seems to be opposing the nominee of PMLN, because they say that the gentleman actually defended people who were accused of partaking, or being part of any kind of activity that in the end got Benazir Bhutto killed. We are going to talk about this, and then we are going to talk about government's policies as well. There are many issues that we are going to see. Let us begin the program. In order to help us understand these issues, in the studio I'm joined by Javed Rana, who is a senior journalist, joins us here. Thank you very much, Javed Rana, sir, for being part of the program. On Skype, we are joined by Asim Shaukat Ali, spokesperson of Punjab government, also representing PTI here. And Dr. Niaz Murza joins us via Skype also. Dr. Niaz Murza is a known political economist and a columnist and a regular on this show and this channel. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, both gentlemen, for being part of the program. I'm told that we are going to be joined by a PML representation on phone later in the program. The moment they do, I'm going to introduce them as well. Javed Rana sahab, what exactly is happening right now? Why is it that PDM seems to be divided against itself?
I think the reasons are quite obvious.
Yeah.
The trust deficit is now huge because now the thinking within the PMLN is that Asif Zardari has joined hands with the establishment. He has dished them. But I think it is not that simple.
Okay.
The situation is a bit very different in the sense that both major political parties are watching their interest in a manner which we call as power politics,
Okay.
which is free of ethics, which is free of all the political pledges that they had made.
Okay.
Now, Asif Zardari knew that in case he resigns from the National Assembly, there is a little probability that the seats that they already had in the National Assembly, particularly from provinces other than Sindh, they may lose them straight away.
Okay.
And then the PDM parties, they were also insisting that the People's Party should also resign from the Sindh government, which is the only base for the People's Party.
All right.
And I think that is not acceptable for the
Right.
People's Party.
But you earlier said that PMLN believes that People's Party or Asif Ali Zardari has cut a deal with the establishment, so to speak. What exactly is the evidence that they are citing?
Well, I think there's a lot of political speculation and a lot of leaks which are coming on. My understanding is, regardless
hang on, even in leaks, is there a meeting that is being cited?
You see, the back channel meetings always take place.
Okay.
That is a historically
But there must be a name between whom and whom.
No known realities in Pakistan. But I think there is a bigger question. My understanding is, let's call it a broader understanding.
Right.
Between the establishment and the People's Party.
Okay.
People's Party has been in a very bad situation because Asif Zardari's cases, Sindh Chief Minister's cases, corruption cases have been pending with the NAP.
Right.
And because of these reasons, I think they have to cooperate with the powers that be. And and then the establishment, obviously like any other government also doesn't want any unrest on the streets.
Right.
So I think now PMLN stands alone, isolated, along with the JUI. We have an angry...
along with JUI is quite interesting framing of the issue. It seems that most of the PDM parties right now are with PMLN, and it is People's Party that seems alone. But I'm going to actually talk about that later in the program. Let me bring in Azam Shaukat Saab. Azam Shaukat Saab, it seems that repeatedly, your party seems to be quite lucky that it keeps on getting breaks. And once again, in the division of PDM, there seems to be a great break for your party, your government, that you can reach out to the opposition and at least bend over one side in your favor so that you can actually pass the bills. I'm talking about People's Party. Why is it that we haven't seen any momentum or movement in that regard?
Thank you, Pitafi sir. First of all, let me say that PDM was never been a threat for Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. From day one, we knew that it had to happen. We knew, and
but
particularly,
I'm sorry to cut you, but when you are saying this, I want to know why exactly was it that your party continuously kept on talking about PDM when it was not a threat? Every minister would every day come to the to television and talk about PDM non-stop.
No, this is just about political rhetoric game. If they are speaking against us on the media, we have to reply them. This was all about to give them a political answer politically, and it was a media warfare and nothing else. I tell you honestly that from the day one we were very clear that People's Party has very high stakes in the system. They were having their government in the Sindh, and they will never ever decide to quit or to leave Sindh government. So it was very clear from day first that People's Party will not side with PDM at the end, and now they have played their cards very smartly. They got their senator elected, and they are still in the court for the chairman Senate, and now again they have asked very genuine demands. They have made very genuine demands that if Nawaz Sharif wants to be a part, that if Nawaz Sharif wants an agitation in the country, then he should come back and become a part of the agitation.
Right. I understand what People's Party is saying, sir. My question is, of course, People's Party must have played its cards very, very smartly. But why are you not playing your cards that smartly? Why are you not reaching out to People's Party?
No. Actually, Pitafi sahab, you know, again, I would say that the real challenge for Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf was not PDM, but the economic crisis that we inherited. And from day one, we have been trying to set the economic direction right. Unfortunately, we have come across Corona again, and whatever efforts we have made to put economy on the right track are again received a sort of setback. But this is the real crisis. This is the real challenge that we want to
that is true.
bring prices down.
As
please.
Azim Sahab, I'm sorry I keep on stopping you because I want to bring you back to the actual question, right? And the question was essentially about the nature of the parliament. It is a hung National Assembly. In Senate also you might have majority, but you don't have a voting bloc that actually gives you the kind of majority you need. At this moment, perhaps working with another opposition party could have helped you a lot. But why is it that whenever I ask anybody from your party,
Pitafi Sahab, please,
answers I get are very
repeat
indirect.
the last 2-3 sentences. Please repeat the last 2-3 sentences. I couldn't hear due to a lot of distortion. Please.
Okay, I'm just trying to actually remind you that in this parliament you cannot pass bills. You especially keep on pushing for the bills which are important, right? For example, electoral reform, accountability reform, judicial, police reforms, and you need numbers for that. And with due respect, you don't have the numbers. So why not reach out to People's Party or PMLN just to get the kind of numbers you need to pass all these bills?
Yes, yes, you are right. This is a good question, Pitafi Sahab. Two things. Number one, from day one, we were ready to sit with opposition on the issues of national interest, like just you have mentioned on electoral reforms, on police reforms, on judicial reforms, on economic reforms. We always welcome them. The problem arose whenever we tried to engage them, they came up with a single point agenda, that is to ask for NRO. And Imran Khan, Prime Minister Imran Khan was not ready at all. Even today, you know that we have formed a committee of senior politicians who have to engage the opposition parties if some hot words are spoken, if there is some bad blood existing, to make them forget all such things and to come to the negotiating table to discuss the issues of national interest. Even today, it has been discussed
the problem
that
again,
the committee of senior politicians will engage the opposition parties.
But Asim Shaukat Sahab, after actually your party keeps on complaining about both the opposition parties, you keep on complaining about them, and you keep on telling us
even
that
today, you see,
I mean, you'll have to actually start. I mean, on the national interest on its own, nobody is going to come together, right? We have seen everybody has rejected your initiative because Parliament is reaching out, not the government. But with due respect, let me go to Dr. Niaz Murza, who has been patiently waiting for his turn. Dr. Niaz Murza, what is the future of PDM right now? And do you think that there is a possibility of government opposition thaw at this moment?
Well, you know, Pakistani politics has been moving like a political seesaw for the last 1 year or so. Sometimes it tilts in the favor of PTI and sometimes in the favor of PDM. And certainly since last week, because of, you know, the failure of the meeting, the seesaw has tilted back quite firmly in the direction of PTI. But I would still not go on to say that it's time to write off PDM or that it's in, you know, any mortal danger at the moment. They do have, you know, differences among themselves, but then, you know, they have a lot of common interests as well. And then, you know, there is the fact that there are similar weaknesses on the side of PTI. If there are divisions within PDM, there are also quite a lot of divisions within the PTI alliance, and in fact, even within the party, which stop it from, you know, performing. So I think this battle will continue, and PTI may have an upper hand, but anything small can suddenly happen, and, you know, the pendulum can again swing. So I would, you know, say that I would like to wait and see how things work out in the coming weeks and months. In terms of, you know, collaborating with the opposition, of course, you know, in principle, that's a very good idea. But then, you know, PTI unfortunately has shown very little interest in doing so. From day one, they have this mantra that, you know, we don't want to, you know, sit with thieves and dakus and so on. Whereas the fact is that, you know, they've taken so many people of similar profile with, you know, a lot of accusations of corruption against them very easily into their alliance and even within their own parties. So what it seems like is that PTI is willing to take such people to maintain its majority for its own survival, but it's not willing to talk to the opposition for the sake of Pakistan. So I think it's time for PTI to do some soul searching. And now that the opposition is on the back foot, it should show magnanimous as a ruling party, some maturity, which always eludes us, and try to make a sincere offer to the opposition. And the offer doesn't mean you make an offer through a junior person and then 10 other ministers come on TV and start lambasting the opposition.
That's an interesting point. But sir, because you are actually talking about soul searching of PTI, I want some soul searching of People's Party as well. It seems that earlier, at the start, we heard very exciting names for the opposition leader, like Sharif Rahman. And Sharif Rahman has been People's Party's parliamentary leader in Senate for a bit, and she has proven her mettle. Recently, we have seen that they have started once again bringing up the name of Yusuf Raza Gilani. And today, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari actually met Sirajul Haq Sahab, head of JI. And the question right now is that Yusuf Raza Gilani might have great experience in politics, but he has zero experience in Senate. What does Zardari Sahab have against Senate chairmanship or leadership? Because last time he got a chairman elected, he also had zero experience in Senate.
Well, opposition leader is of course, a lesser post than the chairperson of Senate, and People's Party was, thrusting Mr. Gilani for that position. But once you have, so much experience in the National Assembly, Mr. Gilani was Speaker of the National Assembly ages ago, and then, he was even the Prime Minister. So to say that he doesn't have the experience for Senate, I think that's not fair. I think he would need to learn the rules of the game within the Senate, and he can very quickly do that. But the question is, what kind of agreement they had, and then the other thing is, the door for the chairpersonship is still not closed because they filed the case today, and there's a reasonably good chance that they might be able to win there. So I think there is also a need to, wait and see how that plays out, and then have some sort of an agreement on, which party will take the opposition leader's mantle.
The reason why I asked you this question, Dr. Saab, is there seems to be an element or a message by two major opposition parties that everything except the leader of the party, which actually belongs to a dynasty, is expendable. We can ask you to become Prime Minister, but then we can actually ask you to demote yourself and come to become Chairman Senate or opposition leader. Do you think that kind of message is going to the people of Pakistan at this moment?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, you even see that in other countries. You've even had, U.S. President, who went on to become, like Chief Justice and so on. So I don't think that really matters. It's a very critical position, and of course, they want somebody senior. And the reason for bringing Mr. Yusuf Raza Gilani was that beyond the People's Party's votes, he had his own votes in other parties because of his stature, because of being from, South Punjab. So all those things matter too, but I don't think it's going to be a huge issue for people, whether they are putting Mr. Yusuf Raza Gilani.
Judiciary is a different case. Judiciary in the US is a co-equal branch, and its leadership actually going to somebody else doesn't undermine the post of president. But let me come back to Javed Rana Sahab. Do you see these parties actually failing to break their code? I mean, PMLN essentially has to stick with one of the sharifs, and that seems to be the case with People's Party also. That would have been okay had they not actually tried to demote one of the previous senior officials. I mean, Yusuf Raza Gilani has been the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Sharif Rahman hasn't been. There are others. I mean, Khaira Sahab could have been nominated as the chairman, could have been elected from Islamabad and all. There seems to be this problem in the party that internal democracy is not there, and then they cannot break this code as well.
I think when Yusuf Raza Gilani was a Prime Minister, after him Raja Pervez Ashraf, they were essentially from a middle ranking from the party, and they were promoted in the absence of a top leadership. It happened particularly at a time when Benazir Bhutto was
What does
assassinated. The point I'm
what?
trying to
No, hang on. Help me understand your answer. What does qualify as the mid-ranking leadership of the party,
that is
and
the
who is
point.
the senior leader?
Point is, it was.
Can you name the senior
actually-
leaders of
actually,
these parties?
Actually, it was designed. It was designed deliberately by Asif Zardari to bring a leader like Raja Pervez Ashraf and Yusuf Raza Gilani,
No, I tell
who
you.
are not. They don't have that kind of a political charisma.
No,
And look what happened.
I'm privy to certain facts,
But
and I can tell you, Raja Pervez Ashraf.
Those are isolated facts. You know.
No, Raja Pervez Ashraf was nominated because initially he was going to nominate somebody else, Kara.
Yes, we know.
And then he realized that the Chief Justice of Pakistan at that time could disqualify Kara Saab, and that would mean that his end of his career. So then they went for a man who they thought was expendable.
Again, Shahab, probably you're referring to Shahab, the People's Party leader.
Okay.
He was also one of the candidate for the prime.
No, but Afid
then Yusuf Raza Gilani was disqualified.
Killed him.
The point is basically Zardari needed a kind of leader like Yusuf Raza Gilani, Raja Pervez Ashraf, who could have defended his corruption. And Yusuf Raza Gilani, he turned out to be very loyal. He got himself disqualified, but he did not write a letter to the Swiss court, which could have opened up cases against Asif Zardari.
Yeah.
So I think the stature of these leaders are not that high, which is like Nawaz Sharif, Prime Minister Imran Khan, or the late Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto.
Right.
So actually, they enjoyed the protocol of the Prime Minister, but somehow the other they could not make their presence felt politically as a top star leader.
Yeah, if Yusuf Raza Gilani was to change his last name to Bhutto, perhaps he could have been a senior leader, right? This is what you are saying. Or for that matter, Shahid Haqqan Abbasi was to actually change his last name from Abbasi to a Sharif, then perhaps that could have made a difference, right?
And also because of the fact that these leaders have been towing the line of the top leadership, and the fact that they held those offices just because they were more loyal to the top leadership.
Okay.
In case of Zardari and in case of
so was Farrukh Lehari. It doesn't matter.
Farrukh
Lehari. But hang on. Let me come back to the question at hand. Government has actually created a body, right? In the parliament of senior parliamentarians to actually mull over lawmaking process. So far we have heard the opposition parties dismissing that initiative. Do you think that there is a possibility that in the national interest, as has been pointed out by Shaukat Saab, they are going to actually get together, participate and amend the laws?
They must do it.
Will they?
But I really doubt that in this political environment they will be able to do it, particularly PMLN and JUI. I mean, because they are hell-bent upon removing government, no matter at what cost.
Why?
I think it's when it comes to JUI for the first time is out of par during last 10, 15 years.
Okay.
And then kind of personal, the kind of the statement that we have heard from the Prime Minister and from the JUI leader, and there seems to be personal animosity. And when it comes to PMLN, they have a very different case. PMLN had some hope that they would get some concession from the corruption cases in the back channel negotiation that they had. Right. They couldn't get it. Right. And then I think at this point, they basically want to raise.
But once again, you have highlighted all the aspects or weaknesses of the opposition, but the government is not reaching out. I mean, Speaker National Assembly is not government. His position is quite a neutral position. The Prime Minister of Pakistan will have to phone somebody to actually call them over. That doesn't seem to be happening. And remember, People's Party did it. Remember, PMLN did it. And nobody is talking about that. That is a question that I will come back to when I am done with the other two guests. Asim Shaukat Saab, once again, the question is, why is it that your party is not reaching out your party could really do a lot. I understand that you and your leadership keeps on bringing up the mandate regarding corruption, and you are free to fight that, but institutions are there which are doing it. Why is it that your party, your government cannot work with the fact that it is a hung parliament, divided mandate, complete the 5 years, and then you can go back to the people asking for bigger mandate so that you can sort everybody out?
Pitafi sahab, two things. Number one, you have just said that this is the hung parliament, and it is our mandate that we will go after corruption. When we said that we will go after corruption, it does not mean that we have some personal vendetta against them. It means that institutions are independent and we will not be forcing or pushing them to go after someone. Most of the cases, in fact 90% of the cases against PMLN are manufactured, are framed by PPP, and same and vice versa. Most of the cases against PPP were framed by PMLN. So except two or three cases against Mia Shahbaz Sharif,
you call them
nothing has been
manufactured.
fabricated by PTI.
No. Azam Shaukat sahab, I'm just giving you an opportunity to reconsider the word that you used, manufactured. I think you meant introduced or framed by them.
Or formed. Or framed or formed. Yes, you are right. So these were the cases they framed against each other. We have just given free hand to the national institutions to complete their work honestly and independently. Now come to the issues of national interest. We can engage them, we can ask them, we can form committees of senior politicians to request the opposition parties to come on the negotiating table to to legislate for the issues of national interest, but at the same time we cannot be blackmailed. I have told you earlier, whenever we, for example, the issue of FATF, when we tried to engage the opposition party to sit with us to legislate on the issue of national interest, they simply refused to collaborate with us. What they came up with, that they wanted to to axe 34 out of 39 clauses of NAB ordinance.
Right.
This is something
and here's the amazing thing. Shazia Mari, who is a senior leader of People's Party, says that government demanded them that give us a presentation. And then Farrukh Naik Sahab actually gave a presentation, and the government said that this is the actual plan they have, and then the government walked out.
Simply we want them to engage, but not at the cost of their corruption cases. It has been made clear time and again that if they want to work with us, then they have to put such cases.
May I ask you about another thing? You have been in power something short of 3 years. Tell me, how many laws have you actually brought in and actually passed after coming to power that actually speak to your broader reform agenda, not to temporary measures like extension of army chief or FATF, but actual in-depth reforms that you promised? How many of those laws have been passed, sir?
Pitafi sahab, I can understand what are you trying to say. Yes, we did not have two-thirds majority. So, then no, I mean, if you are trying to say that we cannot bring the constitutional amendment because we do not have two-thirds majority, yes, you are right. Before the Senate election, we did not have even the simple majority in the combined house. Now we have, and we shall try our level best. But in order to make some constitutional amendment, we have to engage opposition, and we want to engage them. But again, it will not be done at the cost of the corruption cases. This is what I am trying to say. And opposition parties should also think that just in order to protect the corruption of their leaders, they are hurting the nation very much.
Right,
so
right.
This sort of
I'm told Dr. Nisar Seema, Dr. Nisar Chima actually joins us representing PMLN. He is on telephone with us. Actually, Dr. Saab, thank you very much for being part of the program. When it comes to the position of leader of opposition in Senate, should we think that the division within PDM actually ensures that PDM is now going to become, divide into two parts? One, PDMP, that is People's Party influenced, and PDMN, that is your party's influence faction, sir? Dr. Chima, can you hear me?
Yeah, Professor, I can hear you. I heard your question. Actually, as you know, as everybody knows, that it was decided unanimously in the PDM meeting that the chairman of Senate will be from People's Party. It was decided that Yusuf Zaghilani will be our candidate for the chairmanship. And at the same time, it was decided that the leader of opposition in the Senate will be from PMLN. And it was a unanimous decision. And we think everybody should stick to the decision which was already made.
Right. That is the position your leadership has taken, and I can understand. But do you think that this is a wedge, which is such big wedge, that it is going to actually end or divide PDM permanently?
Well, I'm very much optimistic about this decision as well as about the future of PDM, and I'm sure that PDM will remain united, and it will continue to struggle for a common goal. And
right.
The goal is to get rid of this government.
Okay, Dr. Chima, again, another very important question. Your party might be very confident in actually stating that it wants its leader of the opposition in the Senate, but with due respect, People's Party says that of all the people that you have nominated a person, A, who is barely heard of. There are many senior leaders from your party in the Senate who could have been promoted to that seat. Of all the people, you have chosen a person who defended people who have been accused of killing Benazir Bhutto.
Well, about a particular person, it can be decided by the top leadership of PDM and the top leadership of possibly GNU. But as a matter of fact, it was decided, as I said earlier, it was decided in the meeting of PDM. It was a unanimous decision that the leader of opposition will be from PMLN. Now, if some particular person becomes controversial, and any of the political party, any component of PDM raises some objections, then it should come in the PDM meeting. It will be decided in the meeting, I'm sure. It will. I don't think it will be a very major issue which can't be resolved in the PDM meeting.
Okay.
And I'm sure.
So you can change the name, or you can nominate somebody else from your party if need be, but you are not going to actually compromise on the position. Is it what you are saying?
Well, as a matter of fact, the principle should be abided by. The decision should be respected by all the components, all the parties which are part of PDM. And the decision was that the leader of opposition will be from PMLN. If some party has some objections about any particular person, then it should raise the issue in the PDM meeting. And it will be decided.
Dr. Nisar Chima, one more question. Government has constituted a committee, actually the Speaker of National Assembly and the Chairman Senate have, or senior parliamentarians to take care of the law-making process in the country. And invitation has been extended to your party as well. Is there any possibility that in the broader national interest, your party will participate in the law-making process, especially when it comes to the common concerns? One being the electoral reform, second being the accountability reform, sir?
I don't know what's the problem. I think there's some signal problem. I couldn't hear you properly, Mr. Pitafi. Could you please repeat the question?
Okay, government has actually the Parliament of Pakistan has created a body of senior parliamentarians to focus on the law-making process, particularly regarding the electoral reform and accountability reform. These two issues are very close to your party's heart as well. Is there a possibility that you will accept the invitation by the government and participate in that committee process?
Well, the government should come up with clear suggestions, clear recommendations. They should come forward, and if they seek cooperation from the opposition, it will certainly depend upon their conduct, their attitude. Up till now, they have never sought our cooperation in a positive way.
Okay.
Not even a single. You can't point out even a single issue, national issue, in which the present government has sought our cooperation.
Okay.
Although we have made it clear very right from the beginning and time and again that when it comes to any national issue,
right. On that note, Dr. Nisar Ahmed Cheema sir, thank you very much for being part of the program. I have to actually, I'm told that Asim Shaukat sir was speaking. I'm going to come back to you, Asim Shaukat sir, but Dr. Niaz Murza is actually waiting for his turn, and then we have dearth of time as well. Dr. Niaz Murza, since we are talking about the state of affairs, is there no possibility of government and opposition working together to improve the lawmaking process in the country and electoral reform? Because this is a matter that has been a big concern of all political parties.
Yeah, why not? I mean, the PTI keeps saying have a majority or a two-thirds majority, but let's remember that, when the PPP had the 18th Amendment passed, it did not enjoy a two-thirds majority in either house, and the main way that it was able to get it passed was by having good relationships with the opposition. So that should be the model for PTI as well. Similarly, when the PMLN passed the FATA constitutional amendment, it did not have two-thirds majority in the Senate, and it still needed the help of the opposition, and it got the help of the opposition. So, in the same way, the PTI also has to find a way of, at least having a working relationship with the opposition, and that trick seems to have eluded PTI so far. But even, in the past, in the last 2.5 years, we've had some bills where there was, some cooperation, and it was passed, with the help of opposition parties. So certainly, as long as there is a will, there is a way, and especially something as crucial as electoral reform, which is, necessary for, removing all the controversies around our elections. And, all the bills that the PTI had brought for, openness in parliamentary voting, now is the time to bring them back and, get them passed, because now there is no chance that it will help one party more or the other. As it would have,
Dr. Niaz Murza, what do you think will constitute the kind of initiative that is needed to win over the support of opposition parties? What will it take? Must the Prime Minister call everybody, or must somebody from
that's exactly what I was
senior
going to suggest. That's exactly what I was going to suggest. Of course, now he's down with COVID, and I hope he recovers very soon. But if you look at, how Nawaz Sharif went to, Imran Khan's house, how the People's Party leaders used to hold meetings regularly with the opposition, that is the model we need. He needs to put his ego aside for the country and hold a meeting for the first time with the leader of the opposition, with other main leaders, and make a personal request that, we will also rise above our pettiness, and you should do all the same. I think that will be a very visible gesture that could make a difference. Something coming from the
That's a good
Prime
idea, and we have heard Dr. Nisat Cheema also speaking about the positive signals, or there is a possibility of working together. Let me now ask all the guests one by one, starting with Javed Rana Sahab, to conclude the program. I'm told that we are left with 3-4 minutes.
I think it's a high time that all the political parties, including opposition parties, should keep their differences aside when it comes to electoral reforms, because that has been at the heart of the controversy and the difference between two sides. So they must go for electoral reforms so that the allegations of rigging are not repeated after every election.
Right. Asim Shaukat Sahab, your conclusion, sir, and if you want to include the comments that you wanted to give earlier, please do.
Pitafi Sahab, I just wanted to ask from Cheema Sahab, he is not a part of this program anymore, that what is the positive way to approach opposition? I mean, what is the positive way? We tried our level best to go for the open ballot in Senate election. We went to the courts. We tried to get it done through the parliament.
I can
brought some
understand what you're
ordinance,
saying, sir, but
they were convinced that they had to
from opposition as well, and then our honorable panel as well. It is a very simple answer. If you are going to reach out to the opposition, why would you go to the court? Why not Prime Minister reach out to the leaders of other parties?
I just want to ask a question, what actually opposition wants? That if we want to do something good to the people of Pakistan, do they want that we should pamper them? I mean, what's this attitude? If they want to do something good to the people of Pakistan, what do they expect from us? They should come themselves to us.
Can you, Azam Sahab, can you give me an example of any time in last 3 years when Prime Minister of Pakistan has phoned a senior leader, or actually head of a party, and remember what happened regarding election commissioner, chief election commissioner? At that time, there had to be a contact. In the end, it first went to the courts and then was decided by a committee because the Prime Minister and the opposition leader could not talk.
Yes, again, it means it is not about, first let opposition be clear whether they want to talk to the government or they want to talk to the Prime Minister. If they have some sort of, what should I say, some problem with a Prime Minister, then it does not mean that they start doing things against the government of Pakistan or the state of Pakistan or the people of Pakistan. What they have been doing,
and
this is what we are witnessing.
It takes us back to your narrative. I will take it as your conclusion.
No, I am unable to hear. Sorry.
Dr. Niaz Murza, your conclusion, sir.
I mean, I hope, they take some initiative, and as I mentioned, something coming from the Prime Minister himself might help it, but I don't know if even that will be enough. Things have just gone so apart that even that may not be enough. Maybe, they can say, okay, we recognize your majority in the Senate, and, whatever happened with Yusuf Raza Gilani's election, we'll forget that, and since you have the majority there, we will, let you have the chairperson. Something big, something grand, it's not enough to, some junior minister to come and make an offer about, electoral reform committee and so on. It will have to be something very visible, very significant right from the top.
Right, on that observation, I must thank you, Dr. Niaz Murza, for being part of the program. Asim Shaukat sir, thank you very much for your precious time. Javed Rana sir, thank you very much for being part of the program as well. Viewers, you have listened to the participants. It seems that everybody else in the discussion is clear as to how to actually reach out to the opposition and what will the opposition need to actually work with the government. And it is not a very difficult aspect or idea. At this moment, we are facing the third wave and a really devastating wave of COVID-19. Then there's a connected economic issue as well. Then the country still is fighting with terrorism. Remember, it is not over till it's over. And finally, there are wide-ranging and sweeping changes that are coming to the region as well. And at that time, unfortunately, the political class of the country weakens itself by dividing itself. One only wishes that the opposition and the government and all factions of the opposition can work in tandem. If that doesn't happen, in this country, democracy and the idea of parliamentary democracy are constantly on trial. That shouldn't weaken that idea, right? This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.
The ancient city of Taxila is the heart of stonework in Pakistan. This art, which has been preserved and practiced for centuries, can be seen on many major landmarks of the country. Notably, the Pietra Dura work in the Lahore Fort's Sheesh Mahal. These stone products take days to complete and require immense precision and skill from the craftsmen. The final products are perfect for souvenirs, gifts and decoration pieces, each depicting the richness of Pakistani culture at its best. Camel skin and ivory craft are trademarks of Multan's handicraft repertoire. Camel skin is cleaned, dried and mounted onto molds which can be of any shape desired. Multicolored lacquer painting is then used to ornament the molds, which in the end bear a Mughal or Persian feel. Ivory is crafted into pens, chess sets, jewelry and other accessories such as keychains by the expert craftsmen. Such detailed work, while being extravagant, is indeed a feat to achieve, and craftsmen of Multan produce beauty with their work which is worthy of global admiration. The enchanting arts and crafts of Pakistan.